Aaron Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle back with you again. It is about 9:45 here on your Wednesday night. What we're going to be doing is talking about the severe weather threat that is coming our way for both Thursday and also Friday. Maybe even on Sunday or maybe even on Monday. Just stick around. We'll get the details for you coming up. But Fridays begin getting the most of the talk, so we'll take a little bit more detailed look at that in our extended version of this broadcast for tonight. But for the first half, I'm just going to give you the short version of the forecast. If you got things to do, wrap up for bed, put the kids to bed, etc., you can go ahead and do that. But the first thing I have to do, I get a lot of questions. There's a really big supporter here for AT's weather. Huge. I mean, interacts quite a bit. You guys are always asking, how's this supporter doing? And so, it's just, I need to go ahead and give you an update. And as soon as I do this, then we can get on with it, because this supporter's been wanting some airtime. So let's bring out the supporter. All right, so this is Larry. So Larry has been saying, I need some airtime. So we're going to give Larry some airtime. He's got his little AT's weather shirt on, though. I mean, like I said, he's hardcore, so he doesn't mess around. So we just picked this up for him the other day, and it is the tiniest shirt you will ever get. But we have put a little logo on there because somebody said you should make a Larry t-shirt, AT's weather dog shirt. So we did, just to try it out. He doesn't seem to mind it. He's still pretty docile. He's not squirming. He doesn't try to get out of it, all that kind of stuff. He just sits there. So he's cool. Maybe, we'll put some weather symbols on there next time. Put a little tornado on there for the tornado dog. What do you think, buddy? You down with that? All right, he didn't have much to say. It's 9 o'clock. He's chill. So he's like 420 naturally. So, all right, I'm gonna let you go. I got work to do. Okay, so that was little Larry. He's a little teacup Yorkie, hanging out with his little AT's weather shirt on. I didn't even make shirts that small, but they do. Okay, so thanks for entertaining me with little Larry. You guys are always asking how he's doing, so we figured bring him on out again. Okay, so what do we have for you for tonight? Well, like I mentioned, the weather's been actually really nice last couple of days. I really like the temperatures. I don't like the wind, of course, but the temperatures haven't been all that bad. So that's been pretty nice. So I do appreciate the at least part of the weather being, doable. Now, out there tonight, we do have some rain around. There's actually some thunderstorms. This is looking up in a far northwest Oklahoma to the Panhandle area and into a northern Texas Panhandle and all the way here in the southern southwestern Kansas. So this activity is going to continue to track off to the east for the remainder of the overnight period, and it will move through across the northern counties and into parts of central Oklahoma. So you're probably going to get at least a few sprinkles at least here in the Oklahoma City metro area. Others of you may get a little bit better of a downpour, but at least we're getting some rain back into the states. We need it. Here's a drought monitor again that shows the western half of Oklahoma is hurting. Here in central Oklahoma, we're going to be hurting too pretty quickly if things don't improve. So that little threat of severe weather for this evening, really marginal. I don't expect much here in the Panhandle coming out into the far northwest Oklahoma. These storms are already starting to weaken. So we'll focus then for Thursday. There should be a couple of storms out here across maybe the southern or southeastern Texas Panhandle. It's about all I see, and they would kind of move mainly in this area, and this probably fall apart. So I don't expect a whole lot on Thursday with this outlook. As we head into Friday, though, we will have a dry line that sets up out here across western central Oklahoma region. So we will watch for storms that would try to fire along this dry line, north and south along the line. If they were to develop, large hail, damaging winds, and yes, some tornadoes would be in the forecast period for this. And we're going to detail this for you here in just a second. Meanwhile, for Friday, also threat of severe weather for eastern and northeastern Oklahoma, as any storms that do develop would track into this direction. Plus, We'll have the cold front that'll move through later on, which could also bring some hail later on, that like late overnight hours into Saturday morning. And then we just might get some more severe weather in here for early next week. This is the severe weather risk already posted for Monday, so that's next Monday. And right now, looking at the data earlier, it looked like it was mostly kind of a southern Oklahoma, kind of North Texas event. So we'll see how that changes in the data. It's still very early for that. But as far as temperatures are concerned for tomorrow, just kind of like today, but a little bit on the warmer side. We'll be into the upper 70s to right around 80 here across central Oklahoma. Upper 80s out to the west. We'll start to get a little bit warmer. And then by Friday, yep, we're going to have a lot of 90s out here. And these brighter brown color shadings all the way from Enid, Elk City, down to Childress. I don't think we'll hit 100 or anything like that, or 99, but it'll still be pretty toasty. And then you're across the I-35 corridor. We're going to have a mixture of probably mid-80s with a pretty steep drop-off. I think the 70s ought to sneak in right about here from some cloud cover residual, that kind of deal. But be prepared that the heat will build. Okay, so what's going to happen also is the winds will continue. With that rain tonight, take a look at the wind gusts as these little areas of showers move through. So this is around 9 o'clock in the morning as that cluster of storms kind of deteriorates and falls apart, with winds gusting up around 40 to 50 miles per hour. So, this does work its way here in the metro, points north and east toward Tulsa. So a little breezy for the first part of our Thursday, thanks to that dying complex of showers. And then just kind of just stays windy. It is what it is, man. I can't complain because what good would it do, right? So here's Friday. We still got the winds gusting up around 30 to 40 miles per hour all across the state. And then Friday evening, same kind of deal. I mean, they just stay up there 30 to 40, some gusts higher than that. So then the front comes in Friday night and Saturday morning, and we get a little breezy in the morning. Once again, pretty windy. Those winds will die off rather quickly during the day on Saturday. So Saturday actually be pretty decent for your long-term forecast. Like we talked about, there is a dry line position out here which separates the the moist air from the east and the drier warm air from the west. Now, this is where the position of the NAM puts it, which is west of Oklahoma City. So let me draw you. This is Oklahoma County. All right, so this is Oklahoma City right here. So it's got it well west. Now, if we look at the HER model, it actually brings the dry line much closer. And not only is a hard line in the sand here, it really kind of dries out a lot of the air out ahead of it. And if you want storms to fire on the dry line, you don't want to see this. This is too much mixing, and it's not a good zone to get storms to go. Whereas the NAM is a little bit more aggressive for that, a little bit better pooling of the moisture along the boundary. So we already have a fight between the high resolution models to see who's going to win. And right now the HER has been leading the pack here over the last few events. So it is one to watch. We're going to have to unfortunately take a good look at the NAM here, because what could happen if storms get it going would be pretty severe. All right, so here's a look at the rainfall for tonight. Of course, highest up here in northwest Oklahoma. Kind of trails off as that complex moves to the east and southeast. Don't be surprised to see at least a little light sprinkle activity here in your backyard over late tonight into tomorrow morning across Oklahoma City metro area. And then as we talk about the precipitation, here is a look at how that goes. Those storms will move to the east and a little bit to the south overnight. So again, by 7 o'clock, some showers moving through central Oklahoma and yes, in northeast Oklahoma as well through the early morning hours, and that stuff kind of dissipates by late morning. And then as we head into Friday, let's see here, actually Thursday rather. Let's see. So here's Thursday. No, we did. Yeah, Thursday. It actually didn't produce any storms at all. Remember out in the Panhandle, there's a slight risk out there. This one didn't even do it. As we head into Friday, it could be some morning showers across northeast Oklahoma, but then as that dry line sets up for the afternoon, here's 5 o'clock, this particular model tries to break stuff up here along this part of the dry line in northern Oklahoma, but it doesn't bring it any further to the south because it keeps the cap in place. So it holds the cap across this area, but it keeps those storms going through the evening hours from 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, 11, 12, etc. And then the cold front comes in after that, and this starts to light up a little bit. You can see those storms start to bubble up from Oklahoma City to the north and the east through northeastern Oklahoma. But again, coming into a pretty strong capped environment, so it doesn't really do much with the thunderstorm activity with that front. So almost really a mostly dry front if that would be the case. Now, there are some other models that do show some different data. We're going to look at that here in a minute. So my personal gut feeling right now is that the cap will break across northern Oklahoma, and we'll probably see a supercell storm break out as far south as I-40. So kind of like something like this as we head into the 5 o'clock hour on Friday. And temperature-wise, we'll be into the upper 70s to near 80, really, for a long period of time, at least through the first full week of May. Over at lows, getting back into those anywhere from mid-50s to right around 60 degrees. So actually really decent weather. We just have the potential for a little bit of severe weather to deal with first. So that is your quick 5-minute version. If you got to go ahead and get. If you want to hang, we're going to get down to the details of the meteorology side. I'm going to tell you why I think the cap is going to break here just west of town. What kind of situation are we dealing with if it does? We'll take a look at the NAM model, see how aggressive it is, and it's not pretty. So we'll do that here, and we'll answer a couple of your questions, and we'll turn you loose. So hang tight. The rest of you guys got to go. Appreciate you coming by. Make sure you like and share this video. Tell your friends and family about AT's weather. All right. I'm going to mute this thing, man. I'm blowing up my phone. Come on, what's wrong with you people? All right. Can't think with all that noise going on. All right, so here's a look at the jet stream pattern. It is showing us our next storm system coming in for Friday into the late afternoon, early evening hour. So some of that energy is working its way here into northwestern Oklahoma and Kansas. Comes out what we call negative tilted, which has the trough axis comes in this fashion. Instead, usually our trough axis comes in like this, but this time around it's going to come in this way. So we call that a negative tilt. It really helps to boost the wind speeds in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. It can sometimes help to enhance the tornado potential along with that if other things are lined up. But by 7 o'clock, it does have quite a bit more lift in here. In other words, the system has dropped a little to the south, and that should help to allow it to break the cap here across all of Kansas and just northern few counties here of Oklahoma, probably as far south, like I said, of the metros, the way I'm looking at it now. Here's the strong lift along the dry line across the Thursday time frame out here in the Panhandle, which is why a couple of storms may pop out there. And then if we fast forward into the Friday time period, you can see how the major lift across the dry line out here just west of Oklahoma City, west of Canadian County. So again, this will be the extreme lift that we need to break the cap. And I'll show you that here in a second. Here's a look at the, if you were to take a look at the shear and instability overlaid, it's a very narrow corridor. We talked about this last night. So it's kind of similar to what we had on that Saturday, where it's kind of a sweet spot here of where things ought to get pretty gnarly if they were to develop. But then after that, as they get east of this, or east of the side of the box, and then further east, they go into more stable air Friday night, and so they're not nearly as rough and tough, so to speak. Okay, so now let's go to, and the shear was decent as far as the directional shear. So why do I think the cap may end up breaking here as far south as Oklahoma City? Let's take a look. We're looking at 850 millibar temperatures, all right? So we're going to go through time. See all this warm red? That's the cap's air building in. So that's heat right here in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. Okay, so we're at late Friday morning. So as we go into time, I want you to focus out here to the west. This little wind shift line that you see here, it kind of splits from this way, and it kind of comes more like this. So this little boundary right here, this is our developing dry line. And so watch the developing dry line, because the temperatures on the east side and the west side, 23 degrees Celsius either side, in the middle, 19 degrees. So watch what happens as we go through time. So there's 1 o'clock, or 2 o'clock, let's see, 1, 2, yeah. 3 o'clock, we get to 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock. You see how the temperatures here are much hotter. They're 25 degrees, but the little thin strip right here, they're at, as far north here, they're 18, 17 degrees Celsius, 19, 17, that kind of deal. All right, so we have a lot of mixing on the dry line circulation, and this mixing is helping to cool this layer. This layer is what you need to cool for the storms not only develop, but also to get rooted to become big, bad, nasty supercell type storms. So we actually have one of the ingredients here of breaking the cap just shown up here in this model data. And this hasn't been the case in other events. So even though the model doesn't produce the storms, I actually think that they would given this situation. Now they do produce them further north. That's an easy call. It's a lazy call. For the model to produce the storms up here in far northern Oklahoma, Kansas, given this pattern, this situation, yeah, that's a no-brainer. But can it do it far south here at Oklahoma City? It's not doing it, but I think it will. Now, here's the problem if it does. Now, you got to pick this is like cherry picking, all right? So you cherry pick the worst spot here across central Oklahoma for those storms to move into, that environment. So given that environment, here's a few things that's interesting. So the shear is very strong once we head into the 6, 7 o'clock hour and 8 o'clock hour. Very strong shear, but that's typical. The shear usually goes up. Low level jet cranks right around the 6 to 7, 8 o'clock hour anyway. Good directional shear. The temperature comes down a little bit, but the dew points go up. In this particular case, the cap is just finally starting to build back in, which is normal. It usually happens right after 7 o'clock. But the key is this is an environment, any storm that's already rooted, it's already been developed, that moves into this environment. So it's got shear of over 600 meters per second squared. That's way too much. That's ridiculous. That's way too much shear than you need. Supercell indices, significant tornado parameter are all off the charts. Hail, all off the charts. So it goes PDS tornado. What that means is a particularly dangerous situation for a tornado event with a high-end probability of a strong tornado, or maybe even a violent tornado. But this, again, is cherry-picking the worst of the worst. So the rest of the surrounding area isn't that bad. The other thing that's interesting, though, is given this environment, your LCLs are actually go up pretty high. Usually they come down during the evening. So that's a negative offsetting factor with this particular data point that I picked. But the point I was just driving home is that if any storms do develop, there's a small window for a few hours. They could get pretty nasty, and that would be here over central and northern Oklahoma. So the Texas Tech model likes to produce that idea of some storms up here across Kansas, back building here in northern Oklahoma. Again, doesn't quite come as far south as the metro, just a county off to our north, but the point driven home is that it does break the cap up there. Now, we can look at some of the other CAM models that see what they do as far as producing storms, and we'll start off that time frame. So again, they break up here in Kansas. So here's one that pops right around the Stillwater area, just west of there. So again, stays north of the metro, and those move into Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma with some helicity tracks indicating at least some large hail as a minimum, with some pockets of damaging wind and possibly a tornado. And then the front line lights up a little bit in that same general area, but otherwise it stays pretty capped across the state and not much happens. All right, and this model is usually pretty aggressive, but I've noticed this spring it's not handling cap situations very well. And these are what we call conditional. And these are not easy gimme forecasts by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, so let's look at this is a pretty good model. This is our WRF Nessel, and it's actually old school, but it's very good. I just now looking at this. The data just came in while we were doing this live. I was waiting to see it, and look what it does. It pops a storm here right over northwestern Canadian County, and then it's got another one up here coming in west of Ponca City, and both of these potentially tornadic with hail within them as well as they move off to the east and northeast. So this kind of goes along with my thinking. So I finally found a model that goes along with the Aaron Tuttle model. All right, let's go to the other CAM model that we have. So what that does for me is it gives me a little bit more confidence that I'm on the right idea with that cap breaking due to the temperature change. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. I could still, I could still be wrong, and I'm totally fine with that. Trust me, I'd rather be wrong and cap hold and not even a single storm develops here in central Oklahoma because, again, we don't want it here with that environment. All right, let me think. That's it. So I had one out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different models, 6 different models, all dry except for out of the 6, only one produced a storm here in near the metro. That was on the northwest side of town, north of El Reno, and then that moved north and east. So that is the difference with that. Let me see if anything I want to show you. What else? Oh, you know what? Let's do this. So we know about the excitement of the NAM model with the parameters, right? Well, let's just take a look at the its counterpart, and that would be let me pick the best spot to pick this data point. So the high resolution HER model, because it's got the dryland mix a little bit more to the east. Okay, so it's 6 o'clock. Let's just pick the spot here, and I will go into around the far western end of Oklahoma County. So the difference between this one and the other one is it still has some high LCLs, which is a negating factor for tornadic activity, but it does have quite a bit of shear, 367. Directional shear looks good, speed looks good, hodograph looks good, tornado potential highlighted, and it does have a significant tornado EF 2 to 3 type, and it's got significant hail, anywhere from baseball size to grapefruit size. Indices for supercell, all this other stuff is off the chart as well. So what's the difference? Well, the difference is this model had the cap just a hair stronger and therefore didn't break it. And let me see if it shows the same cooling that the other model did. I did not look at this earlier, so we'll see if it picks up on it with the dryline circulation. And it doesn't. It does not cool down the layer like the NAM does. So this is going to be interesting. This is going to be either a total coup for the NAM, that's and actually, I take that back. The Texas Tech WRF saw it, but not at 800. It sees it at 700. So let me go back to 700 for it, and let's take a look here. So we'll go into this time frame right here. So there's a little cooling that comes in at that time frame. This little drop in the colors, north-south, this is that little cooling band. And that's thanks also to the fact that the storm system is a little farther to the south, so it's got this little edge here. So what happens is, let me do a forecast sign so you can understand what this looks like. This way you can grasp what I'm talking about. So let me go back. Let's do this. I'm going to show you how this happens in real life, in real time. All right, so I'm going to go Western Canadian County. All right, Western Canadian County. And we're going to go back a couple hours so I can show you how this works. Okay, so what time are we at? We're 21. Let's go back even farther than that. Hang with me just 2 seconds. Okay, yeah, this is perfect. All right, so when we talk about the cap, we talk about this lid in the atmosphere that prevents storms. When you're looking at a vertical profile, the red line is the temperature. Now, if you see this temperature jot to the right and then back to the left, this is your cap, this is your lid, this is your inversion. And this is at 850 millibars, which is what I was just looking at. This says it is 21, maybe 22 degrees. And this is around late morning. At 700 millibar, it is 10 degrees. So both of these indicate a pretty stout cap. So if we look down here at the indices, it takes a convective temperature of 92 degrees to break it. We're never going to hit 92 here in Oklahoma City Metro. So if you look at this, you go, well, easy call, no storms today, cap holds. SIN values are up around minus 300 plus, so there's no way in the world it's going to break, right? Now, this is what's going to happen. We have that mixing that's going on with that dryline circulation that's very strong, a lot stronger than I've seen so far all year, all season. So let's fast forward a few hours. We're going to go from late morning to now at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, so 1 o'clock in the afternoon, our 10-degree temperature is still there at 700. Our 850 temperature is still there. It looks like it's even warmer. I think it's like at 22 degrees, maybe 23. All right, so the cap is strengthened a little bit, and yeah, the SINs are still very high. Convective temperature still says 92. All right, and we're only at 73, says the model. And let me see, we're at areas of the NAM. Okay, so now we're going to go, let's go 45 hours out. So now we're at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So what's happened here at this particular time? Well, still looking at 700 millibar of 10 degrees. That didn't change. The 850 is still holding stout here at 21 degrees. All right, so it hasn't cooled down yet. So now let's just go the next hour. All of a sudden, this little nose here seems to be getting smaller. All right, let's go the next hour. And look how it shrinks even further. And look how much these two numbers, or these two lines, the green and the red, are getting closer. So a lot more moisture in here that's mixing through this layer, and this is cooling this layer, and it's lifting the layer. So what happens is now our cap strength, our convective temperature is only 89, and our cap strength is only like minus 50 to minus 89. So we're very close to that area where you can break it. I'm going to go to 0Z, which is 7 o'clock, and see what happens. So in this particular case, the cap is almost completely gone. That little warm nose is nearly gone, and sure enough, we actually have a SIN that's in the, when it says minus, when it's in the green down here, minus 30 means forget it, that's no cap at all, you're good to go. So you can get a storm to go. On all these indices, of course, go off the chart at this point in time, so it's kind of a combination of things you don't want to see. Now, you still have to get a storm to develop, so this is where, if you have a little bit of a weak cap, how does it break? All right, you still have to have it break, right? So let's go to that, back to the map here at the 0Z. Let's go to 23Z, so 6 o'clock. So how do you break that cap? And this is the deciding factor, and this is where the models can typically sometimes be a little on the wrong side. So you have your dry line sitting like this, okay? You have a good southwest wind in this direction. That's great. That side of the dry line's got convergence going against it. You need convergence going this way against the dry line. Because what you need now is you need air momentum to come together into this invisible boundary. You can't see it, but it's there. Now the air can't go on the ground, so it's got to go up, and that's what gets the dry line circulation going. And with much of that cooling involved within this, I would expect things to be a little bit better on the convergence side in the wind field. This is at 850 millibars. Okay, so now let's go to the surface because that's where the real convergence is probably going to be. So we'll switch this over, go to the dew point map. And let's go back to our time slot of, let's go 5 o'clock again, or 6 o'clock. Okay, so 6 o'clock. So this is instead of looking at 850 millibars, which is that layer a few thousand feet off the ground, we're going to the surface. So again, here's our dry line. Now again, we got a good strong southwest flow, good. Now what about on the east side? What do we have? Well, unfortunately, we still have a due south wind. I mean due south. So that's not a whole lot of convergence. So this is why the model wants to break it across far northern Oklahoma, because here and here is just slightly better convergence with a south wind along the boundary than it is down here. And the reason why is because the boundary's tilted, right, like this. I mean, I'm exaggerating here, but the boundary's in this fashion. So a south wind here is instant convergence in this region when you have a southwest wind here. So it's an easier call for the model to break storms there. So they break it across Kansas and then back down a little bit here in far northern Oklahoma. But they don't quite do it down here, so they just west of the metro. So this is where the conditional forecast comes into play, where it's this close. I mean, we're hanging on by a thread. But if it breaks, we're in an environment conducive for tornadoes. So that's the issue that we have here. So when you're doing forecasts and you look at this data, it's what we had to work with, right? And we go through all the schooling of everything you're supposed to learn, know, and what happens. But I can tell you from my days to the days now, the cap is always the enemy. And unfortunately, we don't have enough censoring tools to decipher whether or not it's going to break or not, even at this stage of the game. Now we could, but it takes a lot of this, and that ain't going to happen. So we just go on the conditional forecast, and that's why you're hearing a lot of ifs. Somebody had pointed, a follower on Twitter today said, I don't recall ever hearing so many ifs. So ifs are conditional statements. If then, right? It's old computer code. Learn to code. Old Fortran, whatever. Going way back in the day. So you have if then statements. If conditions are met, storm erupts, then it falls in this environment and it goes gangbusters. And the problem is the science, even though it's great, I can show you all this stuff. I can tell you what's going to happen, and if this does, and if that does. It's a lot of ifs, right? So the certainty is still not always there. Now there are gimme systems all the time, and those are easy. These are very difficult, and what you have a problem with is I could be very. I can go one way. I can go one or the other, right? I can go no storms at all, cap holds, done, walk away, that. Okay, I say that, storm goes, because it decides to break the cap, because I'm trying to do something science can't support, and letting my ego get in the way, and the storm goes, you know what happens? The name is mud, because that storm is not only just a little thunderstorm that nobody cares about, it's a big storm that everybody's going to care about. So as the meteorology community, you don't want to do that, right? So then you err on the side of caution. Now, there's been plenty of events, though, where there's been a lot of weather chatter where everybody's predicting Armageddon. I mean, they're predicting the worst of the worst. And I've gone out there on my neck and said, I don't think anything's going to happen. It is so much harder to go against that of your peers in these type of situations than it is just to say an if-then situation. That is so nerve-wracking. And I've done that many times, and so far, they've all panned out. But it's like a Vegas odds game. I can do that, and then one day I'm gonna be wrong, right? And once that happens, my reputation I've built for decades is gone. That's all it takes. So you gotta be really careful at how you approach this on the science side and as a communicator side. So I'd love to tell you that the cap is going to hold completely 100%. Last night I was leaning toward that. Today I'm on the iffy side. So the good news is we have a whole nother day to analyze this data. We'll have new data that comes in tomorrow in the morning, and then especially in the evening, and we'll see how that does. So what makes the day a little bit better? well, first off, the system is closer to us. We're not trying to track it from the from the ocean or whatever, and we have a better look at how return moisture comes from the Gulf of Mexico. Are we going to get upper 50 dew points again, struggling to get low 60s, or are we going to get mid 60s or upper 60s or even low 70s, trying to come in? That's a huge game changer when it comes time to the severe weather season. The higher those dew points, the higher the magnitude and the better probability of getting those big storms. So we see those types of details as we get closer to the kickoff, right, of the event, which is why I always tell you 48 hours, 48 hours, 48 hours. Now, you can talk about generic thunderstorm chances or probabilities 6-7 days away. It's fine. It's not a big deal. But when you're trying to get specifics, you're trying to talk about tornadoes and where the cap's going to break, you're never going to know that far out. It's impossible. It's even hard at 48 hours out, right? And we are at 48 hours out. This is the window where we start to see this kind of stuff. We really start to dive into the data. And you can see how detailed and minuscule I'm trying to get 2 days away. So I tell you everything that we're capable of telling you that you don't ever hear anywhere else, only because there's no time to explain it all to you, right? And this gives me a format where I can do it for you. So I've been doing this since 2014, and it's great, but it does take a lot of your time to understand and sit down and educate yourself over it. But you get more informed, right? And then that helps you reduce your anxiety, calms you down, lets you know at least what's there without all the hyperbole and all the nonsense and the hype and the drama that usually goes with it. We're in severe weather season for this market, the Oklahoma City metro market and Oklahoma itself in general. So there's always a lot of talk this time of year for that, but that's different reasons involved in that we don't need to get into. Most of you already know. So I like to just get down to the science side and just tell you exactly what's there. And I can tell you what our limitations are. So anything beyond that isn't real. I hate to tell you that what I show you tonight, that's all real. Anything else said, anything else claimed, proclaimed, predicted, not real. It's fantasy, false, fake, make up, make believe, wish casting, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't exist. So I show you what exists, and then we go from there. So what my game plan is I'll do a live for you probably around lunchtime tomorrow, and also of course on Friday, and we'll see how well the cap holds. We'll have new balloon sounding, the balloon data that comes out every day from the National Weather Service. We get to really sample the air the day of the event all the way down from here to the coast. It takes about 12 hours to get really good deep moisture from the Gulf of Mexico into central Oklahoma. So those balloons will be able to tell us if we're going to get any really that deep moisture in there. And we'll be able to see how well the dryland mixes east, how that let the high resolution short-term models get a better grasp of that. I can tell you this, drought years are much more difficult in this environment prediction, because drought breeds drought, and drought helps the cap to build. And it kind of forces that dryland to usually come farther to the east than it normally would. In other words, it mixes farther east. And the HER model was mixing it much farther east here into kind of the Oklahoma City metro area, whereas the NAM kept it farther west. If I had to pick one, I would side with the HER, and I would side with the idea of it's mixing out too much of that moisture, and so storms don't go, and then the cap would hold, and then we're fine. But it's that, what if it does? And we're too far out to make that call. So right now, that's what I got here for you. So we'll do some lives also in the evening tomorrow, so make sure you tell your friends and family if they never check this out. They'll get a good science education on the weather as to why things happen, or why they could happen, that you just can't get in a 3-minute broadcast. I know, because I used to do that for 12 years. I used to get on there and I'd be able to squeeze in a jet stream map for you and maybe some other map to explain something. But other than that, what are you going to do in 3 minutes? Because consultants will tell you all you guys care about is forecast. And you basically repeat yourself 10 different ways from Sunday, showing you about 10 different maps of rainfall, temperatures, and then here's where the timing of the storm or whatever the position, and that's it. And then your 3 minutes is gone. So you don't have much time to get into the science of that, unfortunately, in that field. But this allows me to do that much better. So I'm really excited about it. Okay, so that's it for me. Let me look real quick at a couple of your questions or statements, or at least see what you guys had comment wise, and then we'll get out of here. Every time I look at YouTube, it's you guys are always having a party, and you guys are just, there's so much talk on there between you guys. It's funny. Robert, you want to see a Tulsa sounding. So I gotcha. All right, you asked me like 10 times. So I gotcha, man. And you want to know it for, I'm guessing for Friday, right? So let me see here. Yeah, okay. All right, so let me pull up. Let's get Robert taken care of here on YouTube. And we'll see. Okay, so if we just use, we'll go to, let's go to 6 o'clock. That's where your best ingredients and your best heating, your best mixing are all at before things start to change in the atmosphere. And you have a very strong elevated capping layer here, super strong, ridiculous. Yeah, you're done. So any storm that comes in this environment, they would have to be rooted, and rooted meaning they have to be down into the boundary layer, producing a tornado already, heading in toward Tulsa. If they are elevated at any point in stretch, which more than likely they would be, then it's just it's a elevated storm with some hail in it, is all that is. So let me go later in the evening at 7 o'clock, see what happens here for you guys. No different. All right, so remember that kind of goes with that map I showed you where the best instability and everything kind of happens in this zone. And then everything as it moves east of there, it falls apart. So that means storms here, if they make it this far, won't be, if anything, of any consequence. Up here, you would have to have cooling that would happen. The model isn't seeing for these storms here to hang in there. Most of them, though, are kind of moving up to a northeastward fashion, though, so kind of bypassing Tulsa. So honestly, at this point, I don't see Tulsa getting storms at all, except when the front comes in much later overnight. Okay, so that's a good question. All right, let me do something here. I'm gonna try something. If the system crashes again, let me know. I mean, don't let me know. I'm gonna know. If the system crashes again, just consider this broadcast over. If it doesn't crash, good. Because I'm gonna try to put your comments up on here from Facebook. And I tried this before, and it didn't like it. So let's see here. So hold that thought. All right. What do we have? Hey, it worked. It didn't crash. We're good. This is new stuff, so I tried to play with it a couple times here. Didn't have much luck the first time around. But Eleanor says some very nice things, so you're welcome. Glad it could be a nice, calm source of info. Okay, and then you guys are funny. Here's Stephanie. She wants a sounding for Shakota. So I want you to keep in mind. I won't need to do soundings for everywhere because the only place really where there's a chance for that kind of stuff is Oklahoma City Metro, north up 35 to the Kansas border. You get south of that, cap's too strong. You get east, cap's too strong. So that should eliminate all the other requests for soundings. So Mike says, do they reuse the instruments on the balloons? So you can send those instruments back. If you do happen to get one, in your backyard, you can send it back in, and yeah, they'll check it out. And if everything looks good, they can reuse some of the stuff inside. So that's a good question. Let's see. And they do soundings twice a day, unless we have a very potent event where they need more data, and they will then do it sometimes 4 times a day. They'll do like a lunchtime, and then they'll do like a mid-afternoon. They did that once already this year, and then nothing happened that day. All it did was show the cap built in and got too strong. But that's a good question. Let's see. Jared, he says, I have never understood how the caps work like I have this year. What's funny is down in Dallas and Texas, you guys get and they will then do it sometimes. How did that happen? That was really weird. My phone volume just turned up by itself. It's spooky. Okay, in Texas, you guys are loaded with ingredients this year. You're the only one seeing any instability. But the problem is in Texas, the cap is huge most of the time. So you get nothing for severe weather kind of a deal. You have to have a really deep southern track of the storm system from the jet stream and or something zipping in out of the southern branch across from Mexico or South California that isn't picked up in the models very well. Other than that, man, it's hard to get outbreaks of severe weather down into Texas because of that fact. Hillary, longtime fan, been watching AT since the KTUL days. Boy, those are the days. I was a young one. Man, 99 is when I started there. Um, but Hillary also says, thanks for explaining the cap. You bet. So I'm just scrolling through some of the comments in here that I can see. Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, these are the most recent ones going backwards. But you're welcome, Jared. Let's see. It turns out in your comments, looks like I can only show. Oh, good. It shows the whole thing on the screen. I can't read on the little display here. Good to hear. All right. Alex, interesting way to spell your name. I like that. So no hail tonight here in Oklahoma City area. Just some light showers that are dying out with a lot of wind. Wind 40, maybe 50 miles per hour again. Stupid wind through the whole morning. Just blah. Let's see. Kevin wants to know, where was your sounding point area? Honestly, I don't remember. When I showed you that example, I just picked one in the juice, and just it was, I think, pretty much anywhere in the western half of Oklahoma County would have gotten you that kind of data. Let's see. So I was some of you guys are asking all the detailed stuff I was talking about Friday. Shelby's throwing down some knowledge. I have no idea how the whole stars thing works, so she's saying there's a link, Facebook stars, so you can actually go to. Let's see. Okay, Cindy. So Cindy, you guys don't know, I met Cindy in Tulsa at one of our severe weather expos at the mall, and she's been sending me pictures almost daily that she takes, and she takes some great pictures, so I'm always happy to see those. Some of her best ones involve trees in the foreground, a nice sunset in the background. Let's see. Lacey says, I love the weather app, so if you don't have it, it's called AT's Weather to Go, so make sure you grab it. If you guys have a chance, and if you've been using it for a while and you like it, leave me a review on the Play Stores, and just tell them, give it honest. If you don't want to give it 3 stars, give it 3. If you want to give it 5, give it 5. But put a little explanator in there about what you like about it. And if you have a problem with it, just let me know. Don't leave the problem on the review. I'll fix it for you, and then you can go back and leave a review. Oh, goodness. Let's see. Yeah, I know, more when I saw that comment. Okay. So, this is cute. I get this a lot, just so I can go ahead and throw this away. The whole chemtrail thing is just, it's fun, but that's all it is. It's just fun. It's not contrails, jet exhaust, that is a thing. And with the increase in air traffic, that actually causes an increase in cloud cover. So that's actually something that they're struggling with complete adding in modeling and to take that into an account. And what kind of effect does that have on cooling of the atmosphere, or any particulate matter, precipitation, all that kind of stuff. But the chemtrails is not a thing. I think that was back toward the bottom. Okay, so let's see here. Dylan, you should do another up in Tulsa. Well, I'm guessing you mean the Severe Weather Expo. We should, but the problem was COVID happened, and that shut that whole thing down with a quickness. So they were thinking about starting it up this year, but because that variant was still new and hanging around the first part of the year, they said people might still be gun shy. So they went ahead and just bypassed it one more time. So I'm pretty sure next year they're going to do the Severe Weather Expo again. So that'll be good. So, I just saw something. Hold on a second. There was something else I wanted to do. It turns out I couldn't do it until I'm live, which, now I'm just trying something, so hang on. I don't know if this will work. Oops, didn't match. Of course not. We've texted you a verification code. Hold that thought, I'll be right back. Hey, sometimes you can only do this on the fly because they don't let you set this up. 709-6. Okay. Next, return. Enter this pin. Enter this pin where? Oh, here we go. Okay. Hey, I got it working. Nice. Now, it's not what I wanted, but I got it working. Okay. Maybe I can change this. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing, but I can see. And I was curious to see what was going to happen. Oh. Okay, don't crash. I think it's going to crash. I think it just did. That's alright. At least I got to see how this thing worked. Alright, so anyway, that was really it for me. I'm trying to go back to where you guys were, but I think Facebook crashed on me, so I can't get back to the comments. So, sorry, I lost the comments. I don't know what's going on. I was trying to load Twitter comments, see if there was anything there to play, but I haven't logged into that yet, just to see if this would work. So, for future reference, we'll do that. But let me get this off the screen. Okay. Alright, so that's it for me. Jennifer, man, she's literally 40 minutes late to the party and needs a needs a recap. All right, man, Tim, it looks like the cap is strong. There's not much opportunities for severe weather this spring, and fortunately or unfortunately, whichever side of the game you're on. But Jennifer, so the severe weather threat for Oklahoma we were talking about is for Friday afternoon and evening. So here in central Oklahoma again, I-35 corridor from about Oklahoma City Metro to Kansas. Better opportunity seeing those storms into far northern Oklahoma, into Kansas, but I think we'll probably break a supercell storm down here as far south as the Metro, or at least pretty close. And any storms that do go in that environment will produce hail, wind, and tornadoes, so something we'll be watching for you for Friday evening. And then the front comes in. The Saturday looks great. It's a really nice day on Saturday, and then maybe more severe weather as the atmosphere tries to get unstable again by Monday, and then maybe Tuesday, but then the cap builds back in. So there's some potential days next week. I think Tuesday, maybe Friday again of the next week. But again, it all depends on the cap and a bunch of other things that just aren't very clear right now. So, maybe something, may not be. But this time of the year, we typically get severe weather. So that's, if you go off just climatology, that's our best shot to do it. That's about it. All right, so listen, I'm going to get out of here, but thanks for your patience there toward the end. Sorry, I had to look at a little system deal that was an option to play with, see if it was going to work. So I got it to work. It just didn't show what I wanted to show, but it's something I can work on. But you guys have a good night tonight, and some of you I will see you at lunchtime on Thursday and Friday, and others I may see you back here about 9:30 or so for Thursday. All right, you guys be good. Take care, and thanks again for your support. We'll talk soon. Take care.